Watch out for these lights, folks. Here we go. It's the Christmas Lights Tour. Marvelous stuff. Everyone in their woolly hats. We all got this down. Christmas card, isn't it splendid? Where's Uncle Scrooge? He's not here. Anyway, one golden rule to make it. Where's the bus? We've got the Christmas Lights Tour from Piccadilly, but now we head into an area called Mayfair. Now, Mayfair takes its name from a farmers' festival, a livestock festival held during the month of May up until the 18th century. All the farmers would live here to sell their livestock and have a drink and a party at the same time. But then, alas, the Mayfair became notorious for rowdy behaviour, drunkenness, fighting, swearing, you know, the sort of thing that English people are really good at. And it was a problem. And then the area that hitherto been mainly farmland and pasture was turned into this splendid residential district with all these floor now, still called Mayfair. There have been a Mayfair as such for literally hundreds of years, but the name remains. Mayfair is synonymous with luxurious houses and splendid bars, nightclubs and casinos today, as well as some of London's most lucrative glamorous squares. Coming up in a few minutes, Berkeley Square. How's everything up here, all right? Good, good, good. Where are you from, folks? Montana? Yeah. Wow, fantastic. Huge, big open spaces. Yes. This must be quite claustrophobic. Yeah, there's a gentleman here from Montana, so the traffic jams at Mayfair must seem terribly claustrophobic compared to the wide open spaces and blue skies of Montana. Yes, quite a contrast. Anyway, a very big welcome to those of you from Montana and wherever you're from, in fact, to the Christmas Lights Tour. Well, as I say, Mayfair famous for its splendid townhouses, but also nightclubs and casinos. So if you want to bankrupt yourself in style, there is the Palm Beach Casino. There's the nail bar on the left-hand side where I go every week. Or is it just being foolhardy? I don't know. Right, any open there, ma'am? Very adventurous. If it does get too cold, you can come undercover or go downstairs, but I admire your stoicism. Or is it just being foolhardy? I don't know. Anyway, we're easing our way into Berkeley Square now. It seems like the rest of the world is as well. Now, there are two ways of bankrupting yourself in London. You can go to a casino like the Palm Beach Casino, or take a taxi ride in a gridlock traffic jam, and you can just sit still for hours on end while you watch the meter go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. That's if you want to. But we're not in a rush, because we're going slow, but we don't mind, because we're here to enjoy the view. I love that Middle Eastern restaurant down there with the hookahs pushing out smoke. As people have Turkish coffee and have a puff on the hookah. There's nothing illegal in the pipes, I assure you. It's all good, clean fun, as far as I know. So we're heading towards Berkeley Square, spelt Berkeley Square, but pronounced Berkeley Square. It's a nightmare. English place names, especially in London, with weird pronunciations which don't correspond to the spelling. Berkeley Square is Berkeley Square, Leicester Square is Leicester Square, St Olav Street is Tooley Street, the district of South Walk is pronounced Southwark, and the list goes on. But here we are heading towards Berkeley Square. Now, Berkeley Square was the subject of a very popular romantic song during the 1940s. during the dark days of World War II. A nightingale sang in Berkeley Square. Those romantic ballads were very popular during that time. Obviously, people wanted some respite from the horrors of war, and so romantic songs were all the rage. And a big hit was A Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square. We're heading towards Berkeley Square now. Very historically informed lady.
Yes, she knows more than me, for sure.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
I'm a history teacher, or retired history teacher, so I've got great hope for the younger generation. That kind of chronological knowledge is excellent.
Yes, hopefully she keeps it up.
Yeah.
I learned it in music class.
Music class, oh.
Last week.
Nice.
You like music as well, Liz? Oh, excellent. I've got a young lady down here who's a big music enthusiast. There are two great musicians lived in Mayfair. Contemporary of Johann Sebastian Bach, George Frederick Handel lived in Mayfair, in Brook Street. And another great musician, this time from the United States of America in the late 1960s, a man called Jimi Hendrix lived in Mayfair. And their houses are next to each other. Obviously they lived in Brook Street at different times, but you've got a blue plaque on one house commemorating the great composer Handel, and next door another blue plaque commemorating Jimi Hendrix. And the story goes that their ghosts meet up at night and they have a crazy jam session with Hendrix on the guitar and Handel on the harpsichord. I'm not sure that's the case, but it's nice to believe that sort of thing, isn't it? Anyway, here we are in Berkeley Square now with these huge mature plane trees. Now, Mayfair, famous for its nightclubs, and perhaps the most famous is Annabelle's nightclub, and there it is on the left-hand side, named after the famous heiress Annabel Goldsmith. There's the main entrance there with its wonderful Christmas decorations. There you see it on the left, this year themed on C.S. Lewis's famous Chronicles, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And I asked the manager, why have you based the Christmas theme this year on Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? And he said, Narnia business. Anyway, it gets worse, folks.
Tell me. Yeah, oh yeah, you have been listening to that, haven't you?
His famous, because one of his most famous songs is the Four Seasons.
Yep, we listened to
The Four Seasons.
we listened to that the other
Yeah,
day.
for Vivaldi. Yeah, it's a wonderful tune. I love the winter with all those very sforzando violins.
I like all of them.
Well, they're all gorgeous.
What was your favorite? Fall?
All of them.
You don't have a
All of
favorite?
them,
Okay.
Yeah,
yeah.
I can't pick them.
Most people love the winter, but they're all fantastic.
Most people in my class like the summer.
Like the
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 summer
summer
one?
because it's
summer, yeah, it's gentle, yeah, wonderful.
Okay, thank you.
So here we are. We're about to turn left into Bruton Street. But before we go to Bruton Street, now look, Santa, I'm going to send my list to Santa. Santa, I want a pale blue Lamborghini. Can you see that wonderful Lamborghini on the left? Ooh. Or is it going to be a Bentley or a Ferrari there at Jack Barclay's? Can you see? I think I'll go for the, no, I'm going to go for that vulgar blue Lamborghini because I am a vulgar person. Anyway, here we are in Bruton Street. Now on the right-hand side is a plaque commemorating the fact that in a house which once stood there, a young woman was born, an aristocratic woman, a princess called Princess Elizabeth, who went on to become the Queen of England. She was born in this street in April the 21st, 1926. She wasn't in direct line for the throne, as many of you know, but her uncle, Edward, who became Edward VIII, there was scandal attached to his marriage to an American divorcee, a woman called Wallis Simpson, and that altered the line of succession. Her uncle stepped down, and her father George took the throne. Now, he was a very nervous, uptight man, very highly strung. As a consequence, he was a chain smoker, which shortened his life greatly. He died of lung cancer, and then as a very young woman, Queen Elizabeth became Queen of England and became the longest reigning monarch in this country's history, breaking the record of her great-grandmother, I should say, Queen Victoria, who was queen from 1837 to her death in 1901. So Bruton Street, here we are in Bruton Street, the birthplace of the longest reigning monarch in British history, Queen Elizabeth II. Now then we have the Burberry store on the right-hand side. Up until recently, the colours available from Burberry were as follows. You could have your clothes in beige, 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 also beige, beige, and, oh yes, not forgetting beige. But now they're broken out into charcoal grey and navy blue. My God! Is there no end to this reckless adventure in colour? Obviously not. The land of beige, the land of Burberry. Well, we're heading now towards a street with more royal associations. Regent Street, one of the West End's principal shopping streets, coming up next. And there's the former house of a man called Charles Rolls, who was the co-inventor of the famous Rolls-Royce there on the left. But now we're heading towards Regent Street, which again has royal associations. Regent Street is named after the Prince Regent. He was the son of King George III. We're talking about the first quarter of the 19th century. Now, as many of you know, George III developed a terrible illness, a mental illness. Many people have speculated it was a disease called porphyria, which leads to mental delusions and confusion. As a consequence of this terrible affliction, he was unable to perform his duties as head of state. And so, for that period of his illness, his son, who was the heir to the throne, also called George, took over royal duties. And that period, as a consequence, is known as the Regency period because he was the Prince Regent. And it was a great time for fashion and architecture. And this street ahead of us is named after the Prince Regent. Regent Street was originally laid out in the first quarter of the 19th century. The original buildings were manned by a man called Nash. Many of those have been replaced, but by equally splendid buildings as we now head towards Regent Street, which stretches from Piccadilly Circus all the way to Regent's Park in the north, also named in honour of the title of the Prince Regent. This is Regent Street. As we turn left onto Regent Street, look to the right and you can see the beautifully illuminated in red facade of Hamley's Toy Store. Can you see it there on the right? We'll all see it in just a moment. It's the oldest toy shop in the world, it says. It was the first dedicated toy shop in the world, and it was founded in the year 1760. The original Hamley's was in a place called Holborn, east of here, but it moved here to Regent Street in 1881. I remember going there as a child with my mum, always very, very exciting day that was, before Christmas. So the stretch of Regent Street to the left and the right, isn't it grand? Architecturally one of the finest streets in Europe. Look to the left, look to the right. And above us, these wonderful illuminated angels, which have become a regular fixture of the Christmas season.
Yeah. Open it up now. So what's the wishes, I guess?
They still have it up. It could be like a decoration.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be all sparkly to be a decoration.
So Mayfair to the left, and on the right hand side is another very fashionable district of London called Soho. Today it's famous for its nightclubs and bars and restaurants. But again, in the days before the area was developed, as I said, Mayfair was developed in the 18th century, around the same time as Soho. But when Soho was open land, it was a royal hunting ground. And Soho is a hunting cry, similar to tally-ho. Soho! So they would hunt. It was one of the favourite hunting grounds of King Henry VIII back in the 16th century. Today, Soho, as I said, famous for its bars and nightclubs, and also just off this street here is Carnaby Street, which became the centre of fashion back in the swinging 60s. So there's an intersection between two great shopping streets, Regent Street and Oxford Street, and the junction is called Oxford Circus, and that's where we are now. Now, as a child, when I lived in the suburbs, and my father would say, "We're going into town now, son, and we're going to Oxford Circus, or Piccadilly Circus," I got very excited because I thought it would be some kind of entertainment. But it's got nothing to do with the Roman circuses, or let alone Barnum and Bailey, or Billy Smart. It's simply a circular junction from the Latin word circus, which just means circle. And here we have one of London's famous circus junctions. This is Oxford Circus. There's also, of course, Piccadilly Circus, Cambridge Circus, Holborn Circus, Ludgate Circus, the list goes on. This is Oxford Circus, the intersection of two great shopping streets, Regent Street and Oxford Street. We'll be turning left into Oxford Street in just a moment. And so here we are in Oxford Street, 1.5 miles of shops, but alas, only one pub. Something not quite right there, if you ask me. Now, Oxford Street is named after the Earls of Oxford. As I say, many of the districts of London here were developed by the aristocratic landowners. The Grosvenor Estate, the Cadogan Estate going towards Chelsea, and this area owned by the Earls of Oxford, including the district of Marylebone, which lies to the right. So this is Oxford Street. Before it was called Oxford Street, it was called Tyburn Way, a name with rather sad connotations. This was the street which led from Newgate Prison in the city to the place of execution at the Tyburn Tree, where now we will find Marble Arch. But the wretched prisoners condemned to death would make their final journey on a cart here to the gallows at Tyburn, and that was a place of public execution from 1196 until 1783. Thankfully, that story is now in the past. And Oxford Street is a cheerful street, full of shops and beautiful lights, as you can see. On the left-hand side is the HMV shop, founded in 1921. It's the last record shop in London that survives. Now we live in the age of Spotify and YouTube and digitisation. It was founded in 1921 and opened by the great classical composer, Sir Edward Elgar. One of the grandest buildings in Oxford Street, and indeed in London, is the magnificent department store Selfridges, which we will see shortly on the right-hand side. The main facade stretches for almost 1/4 of a mile, a wonderful rhythmic classical facade made up of beautiful Corinthian-style Greek columns, and at Christmas time lit up in this wonderful pale violet colour. And the theme this Christmas are the stories of Walt Disney films. So it's looking extra magnificent. And let's play a little game. Let's look at the window displays and guess what story the tableau presents. It's a fun game to play. I enjoy it very much. I'm a man of simple tastes, I know. Yes. So there is Selfridges on the right hand side. Cinderella. Ooh. Snow White. Pinocchio. There on the right, what's that coming into view now? That has to be, easy, Winnie the Pooh. The umbrella must mean Mary Poppins. Oh, Fantasia with Mickey Mouse, and a smiling cat there can mean one thing. Oh, Alice in Wonderland. And look, Lady and the Tramp. Rather splendid. And of course on the last one, we can see the clock of Big Ben and two, I think it's Peter Pan and Wendy in silhouette flying past the clock. Isn't that splendid? Now, the building is wonderful. It dates from 1909, and the building Selfridges, as a store, was founded by the American retail entrepreneur, a man called Gordon Selfridge, back in 1909. He had a checkered career as a retail entrepreneur. His fortunes declined towards the end of his life, and he died in poverty, a very disappointed and very unhappy man, which is very sad. But at the height of his powers, he was the founder of Selfridges department store, and there it is on the right. And he also coined the phrase, the famous phrase, "The customer is always right." And yes, they sell a lot of things in Selfridges, including the fact that Selfridges sell fridges, as well as everything else. And very busy time for all the shops here in Oxford Street. Christmas is on its way. So Oxford Street, or Tyburn Way as it was once known, culminates at a big junction called Marble Arch. So called because the central feature of this junction is a triumphal arch in the Roman style called the Marble Arch, which we shall see in a few moments from now. So were we to carry on in a straight line, rather than turning left as we are now to have a look at Hyde Park and the Winter Wonderland, were we to go straight ahead, in about a quarter of a mile we would pass 100 Bayswater Road, where the house was, still there the house was, but who lived there? J.M. Barrie, the author of Peter Pan, lived in Bayswater, which is just over the junction, but we're turning left now. to have a look at Hyde Park. And there is the Marble Arch there on the right hand side, which used to stand at the entrance to Buckingham Palace, but relocated here in 1851. There is a fairly new attraction at Christmas time in London. It's been going now for about 10 years. Normally, in winter time, Hyde Park is cloaked in gloom this time of year, but now it plays host to Winter Wonderland, a fair which runs until the new year. So if your idea of a good night out at this time is to go on an open top roller coaster at high speed in sub-zero temperatures, contract hypothermia and die, Winter Wonderland is the place for you. It runs until the new year. But now we head into Upper Brook Street as we head to a part of Mayfair known as Little America, and you'll find out why in just a few moments. And there are some people on the right. Can you see they've got toys from Winter Wonderland and they can't fit them in their car? They've won giant teddy bears and the logistical issue of getting them home. Now that we've got this teddy bear, how are we going to get it in the car? Well look, they're still trying. Can you see in the back? Oh mummy, please get the teddy bear into the car. Otherwise I shall cry and cry and cry. And so here we are entering Little America, and as I say, all will be clear in just a few moments. Shortly on the right hand side we'll see the former Embassy of the United States of America here in Grosvenor Square, designed by the modernist Finnish architect Eero Saarinen. The embassy has since relocated to a premises on the south of the River Thames near an area known as Vauxhall, but there's the former US Embassy on the right hand side, and now it is a luxury hotel. There it is on the right. And if you look upwards on the right hand side, on the main facade, there's a giant gold eagle at the top, which is the length of this bus. There it is on the right. And in the gloom there on the right, unfortunately we can't see it at the moment, they're restoring the square, but take my word for it, there's statues of eminent statesmen like Eisenhower and Franklin D. Roosevelt. There's Roosevelt's statue being restored, it's covered in scaffolding, as you can see in the gloom. So there have been 3 American embassies, or US embassies in London, the one we just saw, the one now in Vauxhall, and the one on the left in the corner there beyond the zebra crossing on the left at number 9, tucked in the corner there, that was the original embassy of the US in the early 19th century when relations had been normalized after the War of Independence, the Declaration of Independence, of course, back in that famous year, 1776. So we head through Mayfair now, and on the right hand side is a luxury hotel coming in view with a wonderful Christmas tree above the porch there. On the right, that is the Connaught Hotel. Many celebrated and distinguished guests it has had down the years. Perhaps one of the most distinguished guests was a man called Charles de Gaulle, the leader of the Free French. When France fell in 1914, de Gaulle led a government in exile, and when he was staying here in London, he had rooms at the Connaught Hotel there on the right-hand side. Allons enfants de la patrie, le jour de gloire est arrivé. Absolument, vous avez raison, monsieur. Oui. Actually, just a quick while we're waiting in the traffic, He stayed there at the Connaught Hotel, but the French Free Forces, the government in exile, met upstairs in a pub in Soho called the York Minster. Since then, the York Minster has changed its name to the French House in honour of the French. Many years after World War II, he just wandered into the pub one afternoon and ordered a drink. "I'll have a pint, please." I said, "Are you Charles Gore?" "Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I used to come here." You know, as if he was just a regular punter. And said, "Isn't that great? No bodyguard, no security details. I would like to have a pint of beer, please. It is French house, as you now call it. Les enfants de la patrie. Liberté, égalité, fraternité." Anyway, that's the Connaught where de Gaulle stayed. So imagine this, if you will, as open farmland where in the month of May the farmers met to sell livestock and have a drink or two, and as it turned out, often a drink too many, hence the abolition of the Mayfair and then its subsequent development in the late 18th and early 19th century. So the plane trees of Berkeley Square tower into the sky. They can reach magnificent heights, and these plane trees are very common in London. They grow to a great height, they look very elegant, and also they're resistant to air pollution, so they thrive in sometimes polluted environment of the city. So we see Annabelle's again in the distance across the square. Now, if you're thinking of joining Annabelle's nightclub, it's £3,200 a year, and the initial joining fee is £1,750. But also, just around the corner, there's a wonderful pub, and I'm sure I have just as good a time for a fraction of the cost. So, there we are. It's not that I'm tight-fisted or mean. I know how to have a good time on a budget. So the districts of inner London: Mayfair, Belgravia, Marylebone, Soho. The city of London itself occupies only 1 square mile and was founded by the Romans some 2,000 years ago, when Britain was part of the Roman Empire. Then, as London expanded down the years, the villages of former times were swallowed up by the growth of the capital. I could also mention Kensington, Chelsea, Knightsbridge, the list goes on. Now, Greater London, as it's known, forms 32 boroughs in all. And that unofficial symphony of any urban environment, the car alarm. Boom, boom, boom. Let's put a melody over the top. Oh, it's stopped now. Good. It heard me. Exactly. So we're making our way back towards Piccadilly now, and we'll be heading towards Piccadilly Circus for the next stretch of the tour. it's midwinter and there are lights everywhere. And of course, every year on social media, especially places like Facebook, friends will remind you in a patronizing way that Christmas was originally a pagan festival. I bet you didn't know that. Well, most of us did, actually. Thank you so much. So much. And indeed, in the pre-Christian days in Northern Europe, it was often referred to as Yule, the festival of Yule. And Yule was a pretty obvious thing to do. Look, you're living in a tribe in Scandinavia or Britain, it's all very, very cold, it's midwinter, there's not much to do. What do? You chop down a tree, get the trunk, set it on fire so that it will burn for several days. You poor animals, but hey, it's got to be done, they're slaughtered so you can feast. You drink a lot to stop going mad at the time of year when it's dark and cold. What else is there to do? So light was a very important factor. And also, very interestingly, the Nordic gods, many of them are still in our calendar and in the days of the week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Woden Day. Thursday, Thor's Day, the god of Thor, the god of thunder. Freya, another Nordic goddess. But Woden, or Odin, is an interesting story. And traditional Nordic folklore, on Midwinter's Night, tell me if this sounds familiar to you all. You may know this story anyway. On Midwinter's Night, Odin would fly across the sky in a chariot and reward the virtuous and punish the wicked. And if you were virtuous, sometimes the spirit of Odin would go down the chimney into the fireplace and bring a blessing. Sound familiar? Yes, of course, it's the beginning of the Santa Claus story, of course, but Santa much more cozy, or as they say in Germany, much more gemütlich than a rather sinister, or rather foreboding, I should say, Woden or Odin. And then, of course, during the Christian era, the Midwinter Festival was subsumed into the festival of the birth of Christ, our Lord Jesus, in Bethlehem. And why the 25th of December? Well, there's a third tradition, the Saturnalia in ancient Rome, which is a midwinter festival where children were given gifts. And that was on the 25th of December. So they've all woven together into one huge and wonderful tradition we now generally call Christmas. Also, we've seen a lot of Christmas trees tonight, and that Christmas tree too comes from the pagan Nordic Yule tradition. The Christmas tree wasn't a feature of English Christmases until the 1840s. The husband of Queen Victoria, many of you know this story, I'm sure, when the German Prince Albert Saxe-Coburg-Gotha married Queen Victoria, he erected a Christmas tree in Buckingham Palace. He was feeling a bit, maybe a little bit homesick, wanted to remind himself of the traditional German Christmas, and it was reported in such popular magazines as the Illustrated London News, and all the English thought, my goodness me, what a splendid idea. So within a few years the Christmas tree had become part of the English Christmas as well. It does seem kind of absurd. What do you do in the middle of winter? Well, we chop down a tree and put it in our front room. But think of the simple psychology of it. At a time when everything is grey, everything is dull, and most of the trees have lost their leaves, you get an evergreen tree, put it in your front room, set our fire on in the hearth, and you've got greenery and warmth reminding you of the summer the summer months in the depth and darkness of winter time, and then have a stiff drink just to make sure that everything's perfect. Yes, very good. Ganz gemütlich, ganz wunderbar, ja. And also, when you're in London, talking of the Germanic Christmas, there are lots of German Christmas markets in London. That's become another Germanic tradition, and they sell Glühwein, which is we call mulled wine in England, and superb sausages. And as they say, German Wurst is the best. Yeah. If you will forgive that pun, forgive the pun, please. And a slightly vulgar and silly Shakespearean pun. Down in Waterloo, at Christmas time, they have a marquee, and inside this marquee, they have a DJ playing records, and outside they've got a picture of Richard III with his hunchback, looking very suspiciously like Laurence Olivier, and with a bubble coming out of his mouth, saying, "Now is the winter of our disco tent." Oh dear. I think Christmas time is a time when you can forgive puns, though. That's one of the joys of Christmas. Otherwise, they're unacceptable. So, looking straight ahead, we see the famous Ritz Hotel, founded by the eponymous Caesar Ritz in 1906. The very word Ritz has entered the English language as a word to describe luxurious living. You can enjoy luxurious living at the Ritz Hotel by having afternoon tea at the Ritz. It comes in at a hefty price. It's £81 for the regular afternoon tea, and the Christmas special comes in at £115. And it's really good. The trolley, I did it once years ago. The trolley goes around and around and around and around. So there's no limit. It's sort of open-ended. And as a young man, I wanted to get my money's worth. The waiter looked at me slightly disdainfully. "Are you sure you want another tranche of Black Forest Ghetto, sir?" "Yes, please, bring it on. Love it. I want my money's worth." Terrible business. And more splendid cars, this time a Lotus. Which one is it going to be? Oh, Santa. Santa, is it going to be? Yes, I think that sort of banana yellow one with a black roof will suit me. All that old, is that a old Formula 1 car? Carriage beer, yes, carriage beer. Drink lots of beer and get into a racing car. That will get you home safely. So now we turn on to Piccadilly, which is the main drag of London's West End, the entertainment district of the capital, also sometimes known as Theatreland for obvious reasons. to the left and the district of St James to the right. Nobody's absolutely sure where the name Piccadilly comes from, but many suggest that it's named after a man who made frilly collars in the 17th century called Piccadilles. You've seen them in those paintings, particularly Dutch paintings, the big frilly collars that were fashionable. And it was Piccadilly Hall where the Piccadilles were made. And it was the nickname of Piccadilly first, which was originally called the Reading Road, and then the nickname became its official name, Piccadilly. Also Piccadilly has resonance with peccadillo, which means a kind of an indulgence, a sort of modest but not too serious sin. So now we turn right into St James Street. We head towards another district. The land here, originally owned and still much of it by the German family, the Dukes of St Albans. And this is St James Street, where the royal family do much of their shopping. The royal warrants above the windows bearing witness to royal favour. For example, on the left-hand side is D.R. Harris coming into view now, the royal chemist, the royal pharmacy. There it is, looking rather grand, where the royal family buy their paracetamol. If they've had too much wine, from Justerini and Brooks on the right-hand side, with the white facade, the royal wine merchants. William Evans on the right-hand side, where the royal family buy their guns so that they can shoot helpless animals on the weekend, to relax and unwind. On the left-hand side now, there is Lot, the royal shoemaker, cobblers to the king. Ahead of us is a rather bland building, but it's actually a royal palace, believe it or not. Despite its modest appearance architecturally, it's a building of great historical importance. There it is in full view now on the right, St James's Palace, which dates from the 16th century. It was built during the time of King Henry VIII as a present for his second wife, Anne Boleyn, but she didn't get to move in because before she had a chance to move in, he chopped her head off. That's right, exactly, madam. I say. Cut a long story short, a rather grisly one at that. Well, this is a street called Pall Mall, famous for its clubs. There is the Army and Navy Club on the left-hand side with the splendid orange lamps. And the blue banner on the right-hand side proclaims the entrance to the Royal Automobile Club, or RAC, a club for motorists founded in the year 1897. And having a private car would be a very rare thing, like having a private jet today. On the right-hand side now is the Reform Club, founded by political radicals in the 19th century, now very much part of the establishment, we might say. And let's be a bit cheeky and have a look through the windows. You can look, come on, look inside, it's great, isn't it? Vast libraries and gins and tonics. Oh, rather splendid, isn't it? Yes. Lots of gentlemen drinking gin. Yes, and that's we have more gin drinking here. And the Athenaeum Club, what are they doing? Yes, they're drinking gin. It's gin all around. Marvellous stuff, don't you know? The Angels of Lower Regent Street there on the left, looking rather splendid. And there's the Institute of Directors Club on the right. And where's everyone gone? I think they've had too much gin and fallen over. Anyway, this street is called Pall Mall because it's named after a game that was played here in the 17th century, a game called Pell Mell, said to be similar to croquet but more frenetic. Well, the game of Pell Mell or Pall Mall has died out now, but the name remains. And today, as I say, Pall Mall, famous for its clubs. And splendid oil paintings, portraits of former members. So we head towards Trafalgar Square, and there is one of the wonderful German markets straight ahead, which runs until the new year. Now, Trafalgar Square commemorates the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805, a naval battle which took place off the coast of Spain during the Napoleonic Wars. The combined French and Spanish fleet were defeated by forces led by Horatio Nelson, whose wonderful monument stands in the middle of the square, Nelson's Column. We'll see that in a while. So there is the Ausgezeichnet und Wunderbar Christmas Market, the National Gallery on the left-hand side, home to over 2,000 masterpieces of Western painting. The church on the far side of the square, can you see that lovely stone church called St. Martin in the Fields? It gets its name from when this area was still countryside. And there's Nelson's Column on the right. The statue of Horatio Nelson, the one about Horatio Nelson's statue at the top. Horatio Nelson's statue is 15 feet high. In real life, Horatio Nelson was only 5 feet high, which, as people rightly point out, is a ratio of 3 to 1. A bit of a geometry joke there, I can't resist. So Trafalgar Square, though it commemorates the Battle of Trafalgar, most people who come here these days probably have little or no interest in the Napoleonic Wars. It's just a lovely open space in the middle of town, which plays host to the Christmas market at this time of year. In summertime, outdoor concerts, especially classical music, and other religious festivals, Diwali, the Hindu festival, also Chinese New Year, the list goes on. And also in a few days, installed in pride of place in the square will be a spruce tree from Norway, a Norwegian spruce, which is presented to the people of this country as a gift from the people of Norway in gratitude for the assistance given to the Norwegian resistance during the Second World War, a tradition which goes back to 1948. So there's Nelson on Hyde, the German market there. Well spotted. And now we head down Whitehall, and glowing like a full moon in the distance is Big Ben. Though to be pedantic, Big Ben is the bell inside the tower, not the tower itself. But who cares? A lot of people make out that it's very important to make that distinction. I just think, who cares? Who cares? Now, during the English Civil War, the king had his head chopped off. Lots of head chopping off went on in the old days, didn't it? At least in this country. And there we have the banqueting house on the left-hand side. The banqueting house dates from the 17th century, and it was in front of that building now, in full view on the left, where Charles I had his head chopped off. He walked out of the central first floor window in front of a crowd who were slightly astonished, had his head chopped off in 1649 at the behest of a man called Oliver Cromwell, who led the Puritans. Now, to compress the Civil War into a few words is difficult.
This is not the point. The point is, did he kill?
Yes.
The person that he killed?
Yes, anyway, yes. Thank you for that. Heckled by a protester. Anyway, no. The Puritans under Oliver Cromwell were strictly religious and regarded pleasure as some kind of a sin. I'm sounding a bit partisan here, aren't I? But, you know, what a dreary man Cromwell was. Basically, they banned Christmas as a time of celebration. It was a solemn festival, yes, but as for eating cakes and drinking ale and dancing, that was frowned upon. For good measure, they closed down the theatres as well. So, if Cromwell was still in power, or someone like him, we certainly wouldn't be doing this tour tonight. What a dreary so-and-so. So I've sort of let my allegiances be known there. I hope you don't mind. There are no secret Puritans on board. I hope not. You'd be here otherwise, wouldn't you? Anyway, here we are. There is the Houses of Parliament. There are the Houses of Parliament, or is the Palace of Westminster. The seat of government in Great Britain. Westminster Hall there, which is one of the oldest parts of Parliament, dates back to the 11th century. There it is on the left. And the church on the left-hand side now is St. Margaret's Church, which is the official church of Parliament. That's where politicians go to pray for forgiveness. And on the left-hand side behind it, Westminster Abbey, where every coronation or crowning ceremony has taken place since Christmas Day 1066. The first king to be crowned in the Abbey was William the Conqueror. And the most recent coronation, of course, just a few years ago, King Charles III. Now, what a depressing subject to bring up. On the left-hand side now is the tax office, the headquarters of the Inland Revenue. Ooh. Mind you, the Inland Revenue get a very bad press. I got a lovely letter from the Inland Revenue the other day describing my tax return as outstanding. I thought that was very kind of them, particularly since I can't even remember sending one in. Very good. So back up Whitehall. How's life at the back there? No hypothermia? You're holding on? Very good. I salute your courage. I really do. Do you play an instrument, young lady? You're studying an instrument? You're studying an instrument? Oh, what instrument are you studying?
Electric guitar.
Wow!
Oh, yeah.
So we were in great. We went through Mayfair because, of course, Hendrix, you probably know, was the father of modern rock guitar, wasn't he? Really?
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say. When Eric Clapton went to see him, Eric Clapton thought briefly about giving up. Young lady said, "Oh my God, I saw Hendrix. I thought I was good, but not that good."
Oh, that's insane, a big fan too.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing. Anyway, on the left-hand side, those black railings mark the entrance to Downing Street, official home of British Prime Ministers since the 18th century. That's Downing Street on the left, home of the PM. This street is called Whitehall, which is the home of the civil service. Many important government offices are to be found here. Winston Churchill was once asked how many people work in the civil service. He replied, about half of them.
Yeah.
So back to the roundabout at the entrance to Trafalgar Square. The roundabout ahead of us, which we passed through earlier on, is, I should say, the official centre of London. All distances to and from London are measured from this point. So when we pass through the roundabout, we may consider ourselves bang in the middle of town. So heading towards Trafalgar Square for a second time, Nelson's column dominating the skyline. But as I said, Trafalgar Square, though it commemorates a naval battle during the Napoleonic Wars, is a place of many splendid events. Christmas time, there we see it, the German Christmas market, fantastic sausages, wonderful German cakes, and mulled wine, which they call in German Glühwein, which ausgezeichnet, very good, deiner Geschmack ist wunderbar, ja. So this is now the official centre of London, but in medieval times it was a village called the village of Charing, which lay between Westminster and the city. And the church In Trafalgar Square, just off Trafalgar Square, St Martin's Church is St Martin in the Fields, recalling the days when this was a rural location, not the heart of town as it is today. Also, if you're in London over the Christmas period itself, look out for carol services in all the churches. Most of the churches have superb carol services over the festive season. It really gets you in the mood. The choirs, though amateur, for the most part, are of a very, very high standard.
Yep.
I saw a telephone. I saw a telephone case, and inside it was a red telephone.
Whoa. Must be a park.
In the Institute of Directors Club, they're not very busy tonight, is it? I don't know what's going on. Not much. So there on the right-hand side is the Crimea War Memorial, not to be confused with Crimea River. That's a song from the 1950s. As we now head towards, this is the highlight for me. This is the great Piccadilly Circus coming up, and there we have the beautiful illuminated angels above us once again. And there's Father Christmas. There he is, just behind us, in front of the tree. Can you see him? That's the first time I've seen him this year. Hello, sir. Very good. Having to do a lot of extra work this year. Greenland, because of global warming, has raised tax on sleighs and reindeer, and he's having to work extra to pay it off. So the official centre of London is the southern flank of Trafalgar Square, but for me the ambient centre of London has to be Piccadilly Circus, with its bright lights and crowds of people day and night, and the elegant petite angel, a statue this time, not an illuminated electric angel I should say, but a statue in aluminium or aluminum as they say in the States, popularly known as Eros. We'll, in a few moments on the right-hand side, see a real picture postcard view of the capital, the statue of Eros, silhouetted against the bright lights and advertisements of Piccadilly Circus itself.
Are you surprised a wild chick
And there we have it, the angel firing the arrow of love towards our bus. The statue there on the right-hand side, Eros. Erected in honour of a celebrated 19th century social reformer, a man called Ashley Cooper, who was the 7th Earl of Shaftesbury. But here we are on Piccadilly for the final stretch now. Now, everyone's allowed their favourites. Now, there's so many wonderfully illuminated shops in London at this time of year, but my favourite, I'm going to tell you, is Fortnum and Mason's, coming into view on the left in just a few moments. Now, Fortnum and Mason's is perhaps England's most famous tea shop, founded by Mr. Fortnum and Mr. Mason. Now, Mr. Fortnum was a servant to the Queen of England, no less, Queen Anne, back in the early 18th century. He got sick of working for the Queen, decided to go into business with his friend, with a tea shop, his friend Mr. Mason. As you can see, they did rather well for themselves. Fortnum & Mason's on the left, with these absolutely gorgeous window displays and the delightful lighting display above the main facade.
And also like a turkey for Thanksgiving. It's a turkey for Thanksgiving.
Yes, I don't want to be a royal servant anymore. I want to run a tea shop. And that's what I'm going to do. And that's what he did. And so here we are. Coming back to our stop at Piccadilly. This is Piccadilly, the main drag of the West End. The financial district in the east is where all the business is done. And there's a saying in London, you go to the city, the financial district, the city to make money. You come to the West End to spend it. You go to the city to work. You come to the West End to play. And there's the Beluga Caviar shop where you can buy a prawn sandwich for, are you ready for this? £39. Wow. That'll be good, that's all I can say. Yeah, better have king prawns, as my colleague says. None of these measly Aldi budget prawns. No. Definitely, I want something good. The Ritz Hotel comes into view again on the left-hand side, as I said before, founded by the eponymous Caesar Ritz in 1906. Afternoon tea is a wonderful thing to have there. But don't overdo it, as I said before. Not something you want to do every day, because you'd get very fat and very poor very quickly, and the novelty would wear off, I know from bitter personal experience. So we're just going around the corner to a street to park off the main drag. I'm going to concentrate in case there's a misunderstanding.
What are you doing?
Now the park next to the Ritz Hotel is called Green Park. Now Green Park is called Green Park because it's a park and it's green. You just could have worked it out for yourselves. No kidding, Sherlock. It's also called a royal park because the land belongs to the royal family or the crown, as we say, but it is nonetheless open to the public. Most of the royal parks became open to the public in the course of the 17th century. Before that, they were private affairs just for the king, the queen, the royal entourage and their invited guests. Green Park is the smallest royal park in central London.
And I told you to go back. And it stopped. Go back, go back.
He's downstairs.
The wonderful Christmas in old London town. We're just going to pull up here on the left. Thank you for coming. Why not join one of our regular tours as well? And also, if you've had fun, feel free to make a contribution to what we call the Driver and Guides Christmas Fund, Christmas Tea Fund, as you leave. All donations gratefully received. If you feel that way inclined, we shall be most appreciative. It's purely optional, but as I say, if you're in the mood for that sort of thing, we will say thank you very much indeed. And have a lovely Christmas and a prosperous and peaceful New Year. Thanks for coming to see Lullaby Night Christmas Special.